here, but the gen spread is favorable for the survivors with this hook placement. They are kind of able to crank the furthest gens from this hook while the Huntress does protect, not allowing hoping to not allow the unhook to come for free. We did see a survivor rotating in the distance, and our killer player is just gonna kind of look around, see what we can find, see who we can pester and push off of these gens. In the meantime, it does not look like we have any interest of coming and pulling this hook at this moment, as we are just sitting and cranking out, like I said, the furthest gens away from this hook. So really, in the grand scheme of things, Xander dying off rip over here is best case scenario for the survivors of EO. And with that, we are going to see the killer player kind of drift away from the hook. Locked and loaded for anybody to try to sneak in there and get the second, or get the unhook right before it goes second. But that is obviously not going to be the case, as we see the gen pressure across the board. And we do see a rotate coming in to try to maybe get Xander off the hook and let them have a final chase of the match while our teammates crank out as much as we possibly can for this. We are going to go ahead and get a hatchet tag onto Z. The second one not quite connecting. And we are going to go back to protect this hook. Even if we did let Xander die on this hook, it wouldn't be the worst case scenario. I would imagine that right now Z is going to find JoJo or Dino and go get a heal off so they can go into this 3v1 as close to perfect as possible. With 2 generators remaining, we are going to see the death come in on Xander. The reset comes through, and now our killer player is going to go see what else we can grab before the end of this game. With Dead Stands being as close to Wreckers as possible, we all know that there's lovely dead zones and lovely corners of the map that don't leave a lot to loot. Z's going to be pre-dropping the Ormond tile to make as much distance between the Huntress and him as possible, but that is going to be the down and the second fresh hook of the match. We do see Dino Melon slowly making his way to a position of where he can unhook Z safely. The last thing we want here is a trade or a down happening while Z is still on the hook. Now our Huntress player does still have 4 pain reses available in this 3v1. Could potentially be a 4k2, 4k1 territory here. Z does get unhooked and is taking this chase over to the double pallet tile. Great read on Z to know that the Huntress would sing there, and so they can make another use out of, or another loop out of this, if that is ultimately going to be the down and the second hook standing for Z here. In return for that, we potentially, oh, do they hit? They don't. I don't think they pop this before pain res comes through. Oh man, very sad. Very sad indeed. I was gonna say, in return for this, we are gonna be down to 1 generator. It looks like JoJo is a little bit of trouble here. That is going to be exactly what I talked about not wanting to happen, is getting some tags and some pressure built up while Z is on the hook. We're going to be waiting out his 15 seconds, I'm sure, of borrowed time. As soon as that has ended, I don't know that we're in the position to continue this chase for too terribly long, as we do find ourselves at a TNL against the Huntress. So if I'm JoJo, I'm scrambling to get Dino Melon up off the ground because with this, it is going to be the death onto... Well, if we decided to pick up, it would be the death onto Z. But that Gen Pop securing the 4K1 for Team Ego seemed to be all that really mattered at that exact time, and I don't disagree with that at all. And it looks like we will be taking our final chase onto JoJo here at this pallet gym. Gonna try to get as much distance as possible, but with the dead zones and dead zones being as open as it is, that is gonna be all she wrote for this set of for the survivors of Ego.
Yeah.
I suppose with the fresh hook on the ground, we could maybe possibly get hatched, but we have to wait for second hook stage to come in on JoJo anyway. So I don't imagine there's a world where he An early flashbang come out, or attempted a firecracker. As we do go ahead and connect one of our hatchets onto Felix outside of Shack, and this could be disastrous. As we are this close to the basement, but we are gonna opt for, looks like, either this deep corner hook or our perched hook on the hill. Which either way, basement or this hill, they're about the same amount of pressure against the survivors. I'm gonna venture out and get some more hatchets. Probably not gonna go too far away from hook, but we do have a win con of 4K too. So Dino he can afford to camp for a little bit, especially with this gen spread right here. But we want to hang on just as long as we can. With Rancor letting Dino know exactly where everybody else is, he's deciding that he is free. He is free to perch up on this hill and protect what is his. And it does not appear that we have as much gen pressure as Ego did, even with the fast down that they got at the beginning of the first match. Dino's feeling pretty secure to just hang out here and wait for our Felix player to go into second stage. With the gen spread that he has right here, I don't know that it's a terrible idea to just kind of hang out. You do have to poke these gens and make sure that too many of them don't fly while you're over here. But we do seem to have a more favorable gen spread for in the way of Team Ego than we did for, excuse me, for Ego on Survivor. We do see Deadlock coming in, trying to slow down these gens from popping too incredibly fast. As we do just kind of hang around the hook and see if anybody is brave enough to cross and try to get their teammate off of this hill. And so far, I would have to say that Dino is in an okay spot. We just, as soon as another gen pops, we're kind of in cleanup mode. We'd have to be, right? If we're gonna try to secure at least the tie condition here. Dino not really wanting to leave the hook and give anything away for free, so that is gonna be the death onto Felix. Just in time to give some of these gens a little kick and see if we can go ahead and secure our tie condition, if not the win. That was a beautiful hit. Make up for all those missed hatchets at the beginning of the match. I think we're warmed up, we're locked in, and that is going to be the down onto Nia. And with that, we do still have 4 pain reses available again in the 3v1, and I do believe Dino makes that hook no problem. So the Claudette's gen is about to, oh, and there comes in one gen pop, so we are going to nuke any progress we have. And with Deadlock in play, this might actually be a little bit troublesome for our Huntress player, because Claudette's gen is not the one that got blocked with Deadlock. So that means that they have 2 gens highly progressed. As we do take our chase onto the Claudette player, and we do see Nia getting unhooked. Part of me wonders if Dino had just sent that hatchet, if it would have connected, but it's okay because we get Claudette anyway. Conveniently dying right next to his pain res. With that, we do see 4K1 is now all that we can do to tie this set up, or ultimately the set will go to Divine Dead. But I'm gonna be perched up a little bit just to see if you can see any of the rotations for unhook or a reset, but I could only imagine Well, I guess the gen progress isn't quite there for them to justify just sitting and breeding the gen. Little does Dino know that they are currently working on 2 generators right now to try to get this win. And with that, we do see the second hook come in for our Nia player, as well as Claudette getting unhooked. And instead of opting for the double against a 110 killer, we are going to be attempting to rotate for the unhook, I believe. And so now I do believe that this is still possible for Dino to potentially get the tie condition here. It is going to be a little bit more difficult, but I don't think it's completely impossible. Without any real information as to where the survivors are, I think I saw somebody's arm past that generator, but I could be... Yep, no I did. It's V. V's over there being annoying on the gens right in front of Dino. So we're in the situation of whether he kicks the gen and the unhook happens, or... I guess the unhook doesn't happen. I lied. There it goes. Dino goes ahead and commits to our V player over away from the unhook. It's too early for me to remember exactly the clock callouts for this map, so I do apologize. Unlucky that Dino feels like he doesn't have enough time to pick that up and put it on a pain res, as these two should just be doubling out a gen, but that does not appear to be the case, actually. So we might have had the time to just nuke, to bring down some of this gen pressure a little bit with our pain res. Leaving solo chase over, having tummy time. Will force one of the survivors into having to go and pick them up, so it's not a terrible play overall. So now we have good information on at least 2 injured survivors. Couldn't have gotten out of this corner too terribly far. And that would have been a beautiful connection, but the Nia being able to dodge it just at the last second. That is going to be the down onto Nia. Just kind of like in a push and pull with the killer right now. But we are in a very scary spot if we are the survivors right now, to be fair. Everybody injured against the Huntress in a really tight region that she is able to easily patrol. So we really gotta either slow it down, get somebody reset, or aggressively push these gens at the same time. Because right now I do feel like Dino is in the dominating position at this moment. As we do see a reset come through onto Nia, but we also get caught out. Doing the best we can to keep these corners tight and not give Dino any line of sight. Be doing a really good job. Oh man. In the trap that I think a lot of us fall into is, she's close enough to the pallet, right? It'll be fine. I'll get this done, right? Unfortunately, that is normally not the case, as the Huntress is going to S-key back. And you're just dead. What do you do? So unfortunately, our hopes of getting a reset done are out the window at this point. And I think we're in the position where we just kind of have to aggressively attack the gens together in hope that whoever does get chased, because we can't chase all 3 of us, right? Whoever does get chased lasts long enough for the generator to pop and them to secure the win of the Huntress set. I hope you guys have your snacks and your drinks, because we might be here for the long haul. Holding the 3 gin ever so tightly. And with that, we are going to take what could be our final chase against Mia here. And it looks like we are deciding that we are going to go ahead and put this in a 2v1 situation. The gens have regressed far enough down that Dino does not feel threatened by picking up. And I guess we're going to go out and try to maybe see if we can find what I would hope would have been this a long time ago. Unfortunately, it looks like we are not going to get the gen pop as the skill check whenever we're letting go of the generator definitely solidifies that double is not going to be enough. We need to take our last chase of the match potentially onto V. It looks like we are kind of pathing back to this Ormond tile. Well, it's not even an Ormond tile, is it? No, it is. This one is the Ormond tile. I thought it was the weird tile with the double window and pallet. Like I said, with that, we are going to have our last chase. And it looks like Dino has done a really good job at securing the Tycon for this matchup. So, we will be seeing Lich here today. I don't know if anybody else is excited for that, but I do like some good Scullies. And the stakes are like a is going to be a very long hindered period for Dino as we are balancing, checking our cams. Oh my! Checking our cams and continuing our chase, and it was a very beautiful play by Dino to just right back up and get to secure this down pretty early into the match. We could potentially, with the painters being that close, I don't think this would have been tough for this chase, and that's quite unfortunate. We do have pop, oppression, pain res, and rapid brutality, so a little bit to help the gens, a little bit to help in chase. Pretty decent balance all in all. I do believe we opted for range as our add-on, but I'm not 100% familiar with the second one. I'm assuming that oxygen tank is not allowed to kind of cancel out the exhaustions. As most of us know, that since the Soma family photo has been reworked and it no longer puts you into the min state, it's kind of become a little bit of a more useless add-on in the grand scheme of Singo's kit. We are gonna get our our tag onto Claudette. Kind of trying to find anybody else rotating. We do see scratchies all over the map into the cameras, but nothing quite gonna tag and stick. We do find Chris working a gen. We do have an EMP, but I do not. Oh, we get it off before Dino is able to make the connection with the TP, and so that's good on the survivor's part. So Dino's mission right now is to kind of deplete our EMPs around the map and make the survivors have to get off the gens to go get the EMPs. And cheeky little spot to avoid getting the tag from the ball. I can't think of the life of me right now what the ball is actually called. I think it's just an infection. It's a virus, so it's just an infection. That's right. So we are going to go ahead and get a slug going, as well as get a tag onto our Felix player here. Dino doing a really good job of managing the chase and our cameras at the same time. V gonna go ahead and dodge the EMP, or not dodge the EMP, but dodge the teleport. Like I said, our mission right now is just to kind of deplete the EMP usage that the survivors have in their hands. Because as we all know, once they're gone, you have to go wait at the box for a new one. But it is essential to keep these cams disabled and to keep the infections as low as possible. Because at Singo's core, he is like most killers without their power are just a M1 killer, and so he's not as threatening if he does not have his cams abled and no infections on the survivors.
Material ready for transport.
I know a lot of times the Singo matches can be drawn out and they can be long, but I really enjoy Singo to the point where it's like a chess game, right? And you gotta move all the working pieces at the same time to really outplay the survivors here. With that TP, it's not gonna quite be in our favor to... Okay, they played that really well. I was afraid that the hindering from using the EMP would result in a down, but what results in a down is not being patient on our check spots, and we are gonna go ahead and see if we can slug this down as well. Check on our gens. It looks like they're safe for now, so we do get to pick up and get our V player onto our death hook, and this could be catastrophic for the survivors of Divine Dead. The last thing you want is a death hook at high generators, because in the 3v1 it feels almost next to impossible to get another generator secured. And while that chase was happening on V, we did get Felix unhooked, and he did have second wind, so there was no time spent with a reset, and he was able to just kind of get his EMP and get back on gens. Oh, that hiding spot not quite good enough, and we can still see you. The only saving grace for you at that moment was that if you were right next to the hook, the Singu's power to give you the infection is significantly slower. So we are opting to potentially trade for use unhook. And to be fair, Dino could afford to pick up Use's pain res, and there's only so many places that V could get to, and with cameras all around the map, you can't hide forever. And with that, we are going to get our third fresh hook of the match onto V. And it looks like our gens are not in any threat of getting popped at this time, so we can kind of venture away from the hook and see if we can find anybody. See if we can find anybody out, and it looks like we do. I do believe that was Sprint Burst. I could be completely wrong. But it looked like he got a little bit of a speed boost as he ran away. Yeah, that was our Sprint Burst survivor. The survivor's doing a really good job of recognizing that they could be in potential danger here. Taking things a little bit slower, should not get caught on the camera. And as I say that, we do find Claudette, and we are going to get another infection placed onto her. These trees providing just the right amount of cover that Claudette needs to not get TP'd on immediately. And with that, we are going to see potentially another trade. And it looks like Dino is opting to leave Claudette on the ground as we go ahead and chase Nia into a resourceless basement. Go ahead and get to the window vault to get us out of the house into the edge map as we see main generator pop. In the meantime, we do have 2 slugs, and we do have another infection, knowing exactly where our Death Hook survivor is. Getting another generator completed is going to, in the long run, obviously help our survivors out. But that was really well played on Divine Dead to get our slug away from the hook that Dino was going to try to kind of diminish what pressure he has. And I think now we're just going to be trying to find V. We do end up finding Felix here, who just got an EMP. Dino choosing to not take that chase into the bottom of main at this exact moment, and unfortunately for Felix, he is not going to get his infection off in time to not get tagged here. Our saving grace is that we do have the basement pallet still. V is safe for the moment as that camera is disabled, but in the meantime we are going to infect. We are going to infect Claudette, who, again, is not wasting, but Dino is forcing Claudette to use the EMP so that they are not teleported on, so. Seems like a lot of monotonous movement, and that is going to be the death onto Nia. That's who they were playing. It was Nia. I'm sorry. Death onto Nia as we find ourselves in a 3v1 at 2 generators remaining. Not only is it easier for the survivors to play in a 3v1, it's also easier for Singu to dominate in the 3v1 because he has to keep track of one less survivor. So. And the goal here is to kind of just secure the 4K1 for oh man, this smells trouble. This spells trouble, as we know where 2 of the 3 survivors are. And it looks like we found our 3rd and our Death Hook. With their saving grace is that they do still have Shack Pallet. They unfortunately are not going to make that window vault. Looks like Dino is going to opt to go ahead and make this a 2v1 situation. Breaking the door to easier access these windows, as windows are the Singularity's kryptonite. the best thing you can do is play Windows against him. It's almost like it's a deserted wasteland around here. The survivor's doing a really good job of staying out of the left camera. I swear, every time I say that, they get found. So maybe I just stopped saying it at this point. I don't know. With this, we are going to be taking V out of the trial, leaving our last two survivors in a spot of despair. Oh, I didn't bug this, but apparently that is a Singularity, a spectator bug. I'm glad it came out of it on its own, though, and that we didn't have to deal with that for too long. Oh, man. You gotta really be looking around and in the sky for where all the cameras are. Just because you're out of view of one, for certain, you're gonna be in the view of another. So main building kind of serving it as like a safe haven for these survivors to run to, as I don't believe Dino has any set up on the actual inside of main. But I also don't think there's an EMP box in there. And with that, we are going to take the down onto Claudette. And it looks like 4K2 is gonna be the win con. We saw him, right? Wait, what? Wait. Oh, man. There we go. He did get away with it for just a second, for a slight moment, but the cameras, you know, the cameras are definitely watching.
the side of the mountain, it's turning a new shade of red. Yeah, sometimes the fire you found it don't burn the way you'd expect. Yeah, you thought that this was the end.
Welcome back, oh, yep, I'm not unmuted. Or I'm muted. No, anyway, welcome back. I apologize. We see Divine Dead on the Killer on Singularity now here on Batum with a decently tall task of a 4K2 win con for the survivor, or sorry, for the killer player of Divine Dead. With a pretty strong performance on Dino Melon, let's see if the survivors can match his killer performance here. And with that, we are going to see the infection quickly taken off of Dino. And we are keeping the Singularity from really setting up with this, with taking chase this early, which could, in the grand scheme of things, help with this win con, or sorry, help the survivors with this win con quite a bit. So far, not able to make anything stick with our chases. We are seeing Ruin, Eruption, Pain Res, and Corrupt Intervention. So keeping the survivors from jumping on our 3-gen right away. We are going to go ahead and get an infection onto Inno, who is going to take the chase to the backside of Main. Our Singularity showing no interest of wanting to continue on this chase and wanting to build up as much pressure as possible with the win con that they're given. This seems to be the correct play. It does not appear that our camera placements are as strong as what we saw in our last performance. So with that, the survivors are able to recognize that they can kind of take advantage of these line of sight blockers with these buildings. And knowing that we didn't make it out of the basement here, we are going to go ahead and get the reverse stun and getting the Singularity on the other side of the pallet, keeping ourselves as safe as possible with this chase. And in the distance, we do see Ruin fall down. So the survivors are free to work gens. Corrupt Intervention is over. There's no threat of having to quickly leave them there's no threat of them regressing whenever we have to ultimately leave to remain safe. With that, the survivors of Ego are doing a really good job of not letting any of these infections come in for free. We do hear some progress being placed onto the basement gen of Main building. The sound notification kind of lets me know that we vaulted the vault downstairs, and with that, we are gonna get attack on the Xander, who's been working the House of Pain gen. And right now, the survivors are just applying little bits of pressure at a time is the name of the game with Singo. You don't want to be caught out just sticking a gen, but you also obviously have to get the pressure onto the gens. And with that, we do have an infection coming in on Inno. Xander is also still infected, as we find Z in the 2-story building, playing really well around breaking line of sight. I don't know that we do have EMP here for Inno, but with that pallet right there at our access, it's not that big of a deal because we are able to get away without taking a tag. And so I know that the gens are not flying like they usually do in a comp match, but this is the beautiful part about Singo is if you can apply the right pressure at the right times, the Singularity becomes a little bit less oppressive, if that makes any sense. this cam going to be able to get the infection even through the grass blades as we take this chase onto Dino Melon at Shack. We are gonna vault in. Dino's gonna drop the Shack pallet. And once again, get away with that attack. Reapply our infection onto Xander. And that gave Dino just the time he needed to get himself in a little bit of a better position. Looks like we are coming back to this van pallet, and we are going to take the M1. Dino has to be a little bit cautious as the pressure is being applied to the House of Pain gen right here next to Chase. So with that, we are going to be leaving this tile, taking our first down of the match. And it does not look like we have any favorable pain resist. So that is going to be no consequence to the survivors to pop that generator. So far, we look to be in a pretty dominating position as we are in... as we're inching closer to the win con of 4K1, or 4K0 for the survivors of Ego, with one hook stage to speak of. Now this gen becomes a little bit more of a threat to the survivors as this pallet is gone, but with the right amount of pre-leaving and good comms of where the killer's location is and where they are going, it seems to be the only saving grace where I do believe Xander is the one that's still trying to work this gen, as we do get an infection back onto him. So without the TP, he's just kind of still free to just work the gen. As our killer player does need to attempt to make something happen, I think Xander can recognize that he is still in no immediate danger of being TP'd on as the chase comes onto Inno. That is a fire barrel, unfortunately not to Inno's back. Knowing we're gonna get hit through the pallet and we will potentially be zoned back there, we go ahead and take our hit towards, it looks like, main building. I'm a little disoriented. I'm not used to seeing this map variation anymore since they took all of these out of rotation. But I do believe it is towards the main building. With that, we are at 4K, or not 4K, we are at 2 generators remaining. And if you are the killer player of Divine Dead, you've got to be feeling the pressure. You've got to be understanding that this match could make or break whether you stay in our winter tournament at all. And so with that, we are going to try to get the down onto Inno, trying to fake a TP. And with that TP, we do bring the pallet, and it gives Inno just the right amount of distance to get away from the chase. And with that, the killer player knows we cannot continue, as we've got to get some more pressure around the map. With our built-in brutal, we are stopping to apply eruption instead of continuing to get a tag onto Xander here. Just barely not getting that TP in time. Great passing decisions by Z. Oh man, and with that pod being downstairs, it just basically becomes a useless pod at this point, because since that generator is finished, and that's just a stagnant pod for Divine Dead's killer player here. These EMPs are being used at the exact right times, keeping each other safe, making sure that none of these teleports come through, and that the Singularity has to literally walk to where the survivors are. So great plays from Ego here. Not quite gonna get the TP to the point that we get the hindered status effects onto Singularity. And this could be dangerous. This is where it becomes a little bit dangerous, but I know knowing he can make his pallet safely.
Terrible.
With that, we do have another pallet here to play over, and that is going to be the pop of all generators and Ego taking the set win. And since we did see a tie on the Huntress, and I was wrong about who we'll see in tiebreaker whenever I mentioned it before, it is going to be a Plague match. We are going to be moving on to Plague after this wraps up. And in the instance that we tie Plague, we will replay Huntress. So just to give everybody a little bit of a heads up of what we have coming up next after we finish out this match. And it looks like this is going to be all survivors free and clear and getting outs. And that is a one-stage game. So good job on Ego. Definitely a tough win con. And with that, we'll be back with Plague in just a few moments.
Chillin' in the spot with a split from my ear and a
back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are on a more normal map for Plague here. We are in Suffocation Pit, the home of the wait. Yeah, we are, sorry. I need to go back to bed, I fear. So, with that, we are placing in our puke onto the open gens. Sorry, I'm gonna get myself together here. So we see a little bit of a traditional plague build. We have Thanat, we have Pain Res, Eruption, and Corrupt Intervention. We are gonna find Scratchies here. Jojo is gonna go ahead and get infected by touching one of those gens that we previously puked on. With that, we are gonna be trying to see if we can catch Z here, or not Z, I'm sorry, Xander. Xander goes ahead and taunts, add to the, not taunts, but plays the mid tiles pretty well so far, keeping line of sight as minimal as possible. With the Nat, we have all 4 survivors already on their way to being fully infected. So it looks like we are opting to not play it slower and get on the gens immediately. With that, we are going to take our first, commit to our first chase onto Z here at the orbit tile. Z is fully infected, so we are going to have to play pretty well to avoid the early down. Looks like we're going to be dropping this and leaving, which is a decent choice. It looks like looks like we do have a fortune top, so keeping this chase right here in the mid section is going to buy our survivors hopefully the amount of time that they need to really get the 3-gen Kraken up top. With Bloodlust coming through, see how well we can play around ping as well as Bloodlust tier 2 at this point. Doing a really good job of forcing the killer to respect this palette, and we are going to see a swing through on this one. Good heads up on Z to know that that would be coming. And we are going to leave one filler for the next, doing the best we can to try to kill this Bloodlust. As we see 2 gens pop for this chase, incredible. And with the down coming onto the downside, or the downside of the map, it looks like we are free to go ahead and continue to apply pressure up top. And unfortunately, that was not a pain res, but it was the next best thing of being in the corner of the map where there's not a lot of resources, making it be a little bit more troublesome for the survivors to get them out of there safely. As we do see Xander up here applying pressure to the one corner of the map. We're gonna go ahead and commit to chase as we leave the main palette to go over to the filler. Great greed on Xander getting a swing through on the palette, but ultimately we are going to be going down. And our killer player not really, doesn't look like they're a huge fan of their pain res placements, as I wouldn't be either. But with that, we get to keep pain res in our back pocket for those really close situations. So, I mean, in the end, it could turn out to be a good thing for the killer of Divine Dead. And we do see Jojo straying off to the 9 side of the map, choosing not to chase him. Instead, we're going to apply Eruption and see if we can find, I think now would be a good time to grab our Corrupt pool. So we kind of have a little bit of an idea of where everybody is throughout the map. And at this point, we are taking things a little bit slower while the killer is in play with power, forcing them to have to break the main palette so we can maintain as much distance as possible, really using the check spots of the main building. But it looks like we are going to be in chase with Xander here at main against the Red Puke. And nice dodge, but ultimately, how long does that last him for? And he will be going down over towards the 11 side of the map. Oh, I did the Draxi thing. Oh man, I'm in trouble. I bugged out the killer. And that's my first and only time that I'll ever do that. I apologize. So with that, we are gonna see generators being progressed. Not sure where the killer is at this exact moment, but I'm assuming that it is on Z here. Maybe not. Is it fixed? It's not fixed. Oh man. I do apologize for everybody watching. Unlucky. There we go. We're back. So with that, it looks like we've decided to just camp out Xander to death, which isn't a terrible decision at 3 generators. It could be worse. We do still have 1 corrupt pool bottom, but we did not bring double apples, so that could be, I do believe that that is our only purge until someone decides to cleanse, but I just don't know, especially with the death coming into Xander like this. We now are negating most of the Fnat's power of slowing down these generators. Yes, they'll be a little bit slower, but not quite as bad as it would be with all 4 alive. So I don't know that we'll be giving him, our killer player, any extra pools in this trial. And with that, we were just gonna kind of listen for the survivors pathing through the walls to kind of just keep them back here in this corner where we ultimately want our hooks here.
Ah. Yeah.
And even though we do have a pain res a little bit closer, this hook is just infinitely the better choice, since it is parked right in our 3 gen and it is at the very back corner of the map, making it next to impossible to get everybody out of the situation safely without it ultimately being a tag unless we give enough distance. But with that, the killer is going to be reading that situation quite well and remaining in front of the chasers, or in front of the survivors, so that they can't quite make it out of this situation. And it looks like we are opting to take our chase onto Inno towards the 1 side of the map. He's forced to go ahead and try to make it to this filler closer to 3, and with the gen popping in that area, we are ultimately trying to make it down to mid side of the map. But I think with Bloodlust in play here, we are just kind of forced to stay here. And with that swing and a miss, we are gonna drop chase and go check on our gens again. It seems to be a decent amount of progress. I'm scared to move the camera again. I know I can't bug it out while we're in chase and stuff. It only happens at the hook. But I can't have it happening again. And with that, we are going to get the blind. And Z's going to buy himself a little bit more time to get away from that 10 gen. And with that, we're going to peek a little bit over at 1. See if anybody's snuck over there. And we do see the rotation to the generator happening now. We do hear 2 survivors in this corner. And with that, we're gonna see the down and eruption exploding that gen. So now while we chase, we are free to chase over around this cart pallet because that gen is just regressing. And with that, I do believe that Z is now forced to come in and potentially pick up. This is a very bad spot for us to be in right now. Our only huge saving grace is that our corrupt pool is all the way down at the bottom of the map. Oh, unfortunately, we do hear the coughing of V on the backside of main, so it looks like we may be securing the 4K1 here. And without our survivors having no mither, there's no chance of anybody getting themselves off the ground, so Z is the last man standing. just hoping that maybe we can outplay main building enough to potentially get a pickup out of this. And I think we just kind of have to send it that direction and see if we can make something happen. It looks like we are getting a pickup and not the immediate redown. Z doing the best he can to try to keep this match alive. But ultimately, I do think it will come down to the 4K1. He has one more chance to maybe get Tori up off the ground, but I don't know. He is maintaining. Oh man, that could be the shift that we needed. Not quite though, unfortunately. I'm rooting for the match to continue. And so for now, our plague is just gonna kind of keep Z here, I guess, as we can't really go anywhere else until somebody's ready to get picked up. And it looks like Jojo or Ino is ready to get picked up, but that's not gonna be enough yet again. So Z's gonna go and see if we can do anything with Jojo, I presume. Or did we just scoot off? We probably just were fresh hooks, so we probably got out of the area, no? And if I'm Z, I'm wondering what the heck am I gonna do here, guys? I can get you up, but you're gonna go right back down. Be my pallet. So for now, the game plan has got to be to just allow Jojo the time that they need to get out. As we do see the down finally come in onto Z. Looks like we're opting to pick him up. And I can imagine that Ino is next, as Jojo has got to be somewhere far away at this point. He could have crawled quite a distance. So I wonder if we'll find him. Me being quiet and as if me listening for the survivor is gonna help them at all. And Jojo being so close to bleeding out that this really does come down to, oh man, unlucky. That fresh hook could have definitely been the difference. Oh wait, we're still looking. Oh, I was wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. It was not him down there. This is Jojo down here. I lost track of who's who. I apologize. And with that, Divine Dead secures the 4K1 on their side of the plague set. And whenever we come back, we will see Ego on Killer and see what we can do. Stick around. We'll be back shortly.
you stay mine? Will you promise me you'll search for us? Will you find me after life? Oh, for better or for worse, will death be our last kiss, my love? When my heart beats stops, will you stay mine? Afterlife.
Since you've been like this, baby, I don't really wanna be like this. Ever since you've been like this, baby, I don't really wanna be like this.
See, you've been changing, baby, in good ways and bad ways. Can't say what I'd say, it's far too late. And I think you made me, baby, made me too nervous. I'm crying in this hurt, and I gotta tell you why. Since you've been like this, baby, I don't really wanna be like this. Ever since you've been like this, baby, I don't really wanna be like this. Who's frontin', babe? We don't have fun these days. It's more than complicated. Told me to stop my whining. When you gave up, I tried. I'll give you all this time. Gave you my everything. Said I could do this all night, baby. Said I was acting out of line, baby. Can't put my trauma to the side when you told me I was lying. Had me feeling I could die, baby. I seen a grown man cry, baby. To see you do it ain't special, nah. Wonder when I ain't there, what the fuck you been saying? Talking about how I set you up. And I know I might mess you up. Hate me ain't gon' get you love. Ain't nobody gon' set you up. I ain't even gon' sweat you, love. And we'll never be friends like this. God couldn't forgive like this. Way I really went in like this. Thank God I ain't been like this. Since you've been like this, baby, I don't really wanna be like this. Ever since you've been like this, baby, I don't really wanna be like this. Since you've been like this, I bless your heart, but I can't take no more. I bless your heart, but I can't take no more.
Hey folks, welcome back to what could potentially, well no it can't, well yeah it could, sorry, it potentially our last set of this matchup. If Ego takes the win here, then we will be finished, but if Divine Dead pulls out the win on this one, we will be seeing the Huntress replayed to determine who the winner and who the loser of this match is. Once again, the stakes are pretty high for both sides here. Whoever loses this is out of the tournament, and whoever wins goes on to face Tamashii. So with this, Didomelon is opting to take the chase into the mid tiles. Doing a pretty good job of denying the first infection. But with that shot into the main window, we are going to place our first infection of the match down. Getting rid of this tile by breaking the pallet, getting some puke laid out. We are seeing the exact same build, but we do see double apple this time. Instead of, I'm not exactly, forgive me, I'm not sure what the other add-on was called, I can't lie. With the double apple, though, we are going to have one extra corrupt pool, which could be the difference in getting the 4K1 versus the 4K2. Or sorry, getting the 4K2 versus the 4K1. So, with that, we do see Shack Palette out, and we see the Jungle Gym the Jungle Gym tile palette gone out of the trial. So 2 very strong tiles are pretty much as close to useless as possible, besides like a good distance holder. We do see 2 infections on the board so far, with our 3rd coming in right now, and it looks like we are going to continue this chase as we take advantage of the crouching in front of us to go ahead and fully infect us. We are just about in the 2-tap range. With that, we can now drop pallets safely. Not safely, but with reason, because as we know, until you are fully infected, you should be keeping the resources up as long as possible. Excuse me. So at this point, we do have the nanophobia kind of just eating away at the gen pressure as we have 3 attacks and getting our down finally. We freely pick up without the threat of a pallet save in our near future, as we're going to go ahead and opt to hook up our Z player closer to the 10 gen. Taking a look at our gen spread, we do have more of the topside generators to protect than anything. The survivors of Divine Dead doing a really good job of getting gen pressure for how long these chases have kind of lasted. Cumulatively between the 3 survivors that got chased in the early game was enough time for us to get the bottom side gens popped and kind of out of the way, so that we are free to chase down bottom without interrupting any generator progress. And with this, we are going to see, unfortunately, we do not see the 2-tap, but we are going to see all 4 survivors fully infected now. And so now here's kind of where the fun begins, as we do take Dino past his corrupt pool, tempting him just enough to go ahead and grab it. We did know that we had at least 1 survivor on this topside gen. Looks like we have 2 that have opted to cross together down the bottom side of the map, forcing Dino to pick one or the other. And with him wanting to capitalize on his corrupt power, and see what all we can snowball out of this situation, as we do get a survivor downed. We're just gonna leave him there to have a little bit of tummy time as we follow the pools of blood and attempt to use our corrupt to get this down. We do see the rotate happening in the distance there. I think that was V crossing down the 9 side to maybe get Felix picked up off the ground, and with that we do now know the location of 3 of the 4 survivors, and this could spell trouble for the survivors of Divine Dead. It looked really promising for a little bit with the gen pressure, but ultimately we were just popping bottom side, and so we still have our top side to somewhat protect. But I don't really hate that Dino is staying bottom, only because he knows that there was at least 3 people here a moment ago, and it is enough to keep someone off of generators to have to rotate for pickups, and potentially, like I said before, the snowball effect that could come from having corrupt. And it looks like we do go ahead and pick up and get a pain res applied to any pressure that they might have had. We do hear Ace screaming in the distance, so that we know that our topside generators are getting progressed a little bit. But it's just the 1 survivor trying to pump out 2 gens, as we have the others kind of like pinned down back here, really. Trying to go for a cheeky shot over the rock and not quite connecting with the last bit of corrupt puke. We unfortunately are not going to be seeing the down come in from our M2 power. With that, we do see a pallet stun and potentially smash hit user. Gonna make it up to the mid tiles. It looks like Dino really wants to keep the pressure up. So we are gonna consume our third and final, at this time, corrupt pool. And now that we've kind of pushed all the survivors up to our gen spread, in a sense, we are deciding to not go poke at the gens and see if we can get a pain res out of this chase. It looks like we're held the check spot as long as we could, but unfortunately Dino just coming around the side means that we are ultimately going down a not so safe tile. We still have a little under half of our corrupt purge to play with here as we find V. And we're checking, as we're up here, we are checking the progress, and we know that we can commit to this chase. Because the progress is pretty slim at this time. But that could all change in the matter of moments. As soon as we get that pickup, we could be doubling that bottom side generator and securing our win here. So right now, it kind of feels like Dino has a lot to do in just a short time. The fortunate part is he does still have 3 or 4 survivors with the fully broken status effect. So the Nat is our saving grace. Plus, we do have two stacks of pain res left. So potential to keep this gen from popping down here. As Nia is the only one on a generator now, and it's just such slow progress that Dino knows he has enough time to commit to this down bottom side of the map. And with Nia being so close to the chase, and trying to progress this bottom side gen as much as possible, we are going to be taking the chase back here onto the 9 tile, which is, again, just a TNL, and so our M1 abilities are really going to be tested here. As we do go ahead and take our Lithe over to the jungle gym, buying as much precious time as we possibly can, so maybe they get it done up top and get the gen popped. But with that, we do have 2 survivors down. With the Nat, I just don't know that it's gonna be enough. Sorry. Yeah, we're gonna have to pre-leave this gen knowing that these are the only 2 survivors standing. We did kind of show ourselves a little bit here, maintaining good awareness of where the plague is for the moment, but unfortunately a little bit of red stain manipulation is going to cause the down onto our ace player. And Nia is, or not Nia, but V has got to be panicking on their way to get the pickups. It's all up to them to keep this game going and keep this game alive. Now, folks, like I want to remind you, if we do tie this plague set, we will be going back to the Huntress. And at this point, you gotta be wondering if Dino wishes he had saved a corrupt pool. Or 2. Well, not 2. At least 1 corrupt pool would be really good right now. But using all 3 of them means that we just start relying on our M1 chase, which is not, to be fair, has proven so far this match to be enough to get the downs. With that, we're going to go ahead and apply Eruption, knowing that the bottom side gen is probably being progressed. We are just going to go ahead and take the death onto our V player, forcing these guys into a 3v1 at 1 generator remaining. Dino knowing that the Nat slowed down, he can come down here and check on this doubled, what I can only imagine being a doubled up gen. Oh man, and that was just enough time for them to go ahead and pop the shit and secure the win. And it looks like, folks, we will be seeing Huntress replayed here today. So if you need to refill the snacks, refill the drinks, it's probably a good time to do so. As we see the gen, or not the gen, but the gate being opened. I can only imagine that the survivors are gonna both leave out with Ape and try to give Felix Hatch but it looks like Dino is keen to what is going on, and that will be not happening, he says. Not my hatch. And if you were Felix, you could have kind of read that situation and maybe tried to book it towards the open gen as Dino took the time to close the hatch. But, or gen. I said gen again. It's a door. It's not a generator. It's definitely a door. Just kind of holding cross right now. We're waiting for the in-game collapse timer to do the job for us. Unless maybe we snuck on past him. Which we kind of did so far. We kind of did do that. Oh man. If he makes it all the way on the backside of Maine, he might make it out. Oh, he's gonna cleanse. We are gonna go ahead and cleanse, which is probably the best choice we could have made. I don't know, that there's not a whole lot we can. Well, I mean, if we do this, I suppose there might be something we can do. Imagine, just imagine. Okay, with that, we will be back shortly with yet another Hunter set. See you guys shortly.
Wanted me, I wish I knew.
Back to the Huntress set. We have Divine Dead on the killer here on Dead Sands. So this is our second match of Huntress of the night. Or, well, it's the day. It's not nighttime. I'm sorry. I live in the darkness, apparently. So with this, we are going to catch out Xander at the Ormantile. Unfortunately, we are going to be taking a vault right into the Loving Killer's arms. And with this, we could see another 2-tap kind of the same way that the last Huntress match started with the same survivor. Unlucky. So with that, we are going to skip Pain Res. We're going to opt to take Pain Res, just the one next to the Spicy Totem. And so with that, we do see Undying going away out of the trial. So now we just have to Ruin. This time, though, instead of having our first hook away from the generators for the survivors of Ego to just kind of crank freely, this time we are in a bit of a 3-gen plus Ruin. Ruin is right on the hook, therefore at this moment it's not even a possibility to cleanse. So good heads up from our killer. I have the wrong filter on. My bad, gang. Oh, I pushed into OBS instead of the game. I apologize. With that, we are still just gonna protect this hook in our Ruin. Which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if we keep Ruin up to the very end of the game, it could be the difference between us 4K'ing or getting outs here, realistically. And with this, we are going to see Xander go into second stage. And as you can tell from the HUD, we have no intention of getting him off before he does hit. So we are just going to be cranking our little hearts out, trying to make the best out of a sticky situation that we have found ourselves in with this 3-gen plus, like I've said before, the Ruin being on the hook. Just kind of forced to play with it up at this point. But with the right amount of gen pressure and pre-leaving in even just one decently long chase, the Ruin's just going to be like, it doesn't even matter, to be fair. But with that, we are going to get a connection on the hatchet, so we do have a little bit more pressure outside of just Xander being second stage and injured now, because they are not going to have the time to, excuse me, not going to have the time to reset him. So he's going to have to do everything in his power to stay alive as long as possible for his teammates. And with that, we do see Ruin getting taken out of the match immediately. And unfortunately, Xander is going to be going down. We do hear the footsteps behind us as we do get the pallet save. Xander lives on just a little longer. It looks like we are opting to maybe play with him, at least eat a hatchet or two. But unfortunately, we are going to be just slightly out of the projectile's path. And that is going to be the re-down of Xander. And with this, it looks like we were sending him back to the campfire. So, with Ruin gone, I do believe we have the gen pressure on the map to this still be a decent result. I think we need to be getting JoJo healed. Or maybe Xander just didn't last quite long enough for that to be a possibility at this time. With this, we do find Z kind of out here in no man's land. We only have really the pallet to play unless we can safely get it dropped. And unfortunately, that is not going to be the case. These rocks are pretty decent against Huntress. It does force her to have to walk instead of throw the hatchets. But unfortunately, with that vault, we're kind of in a situation where we had to vault it or take the hatchet on the long side of that loop. And with that, we're going to be applying pain res to any of the progress that we have around the map. Looks like Tori's still being injured. It is all up to Inno to make this unhook happen. And unfortunately, we are going to find JoJo still on the gen. But forced to play a little bit risky to force the Huntress all the way over to this corner so that maybe Inno can get the unhook. But unfortunately, it does appear that this is just going to be an unhook for a down. Right on top of our most progressed generator. And so you can only imagine that pain res is coming through. And with that pain res coming through on that generator, we now know as the killer player that we can kind of venture out away from this hook. Go interrupt this reset, which we don't quite get to interrupt. But we do make the time for a quick pit stop into Shack to get a reload. And we are going to go pressure. Because there's no, I mean, they couldn't have gotten too far, so they're around here somewhere. At least one of them is. As the other one should, of course, be rotating to get JoJo off of this hook. Which might be a little bit of a harder task with this hook placement generators. The Huntress can kind of just keep an eye on everything around this area. So any step out of a good rotation is going to spell some big trouble for the Ego survivors. As a 4K4 would be pretty next to impossible. It's not impossible. I shouldn't say it's impossible. Anything can happen. That's the love of DVD, right? Everything goes, really. Even with the balancing and everything like that. Anything could happen. A snowball could take place and we could see Dino pull out a win on that as well. But as it stands right now, I feel like our only goal should be trying to get this as close to a 4K1 as possible. It looks like we are gonna go ahead and secure the secure 2 generators remaining. Looks like Z is just kind of hovering the situation so that if at any moment our Huntress decides to step away from this hook, he will be there ready to grab it. But if in the case that that is not what happens, we should be ready to get on a generator. Or maybe maybe that is what we're waiting for. We're waiting for JoJo to die so Z can go ahead and get back on this gen that did have quite a bit of progress at the beginning of this hook state. We did see kind of wrap the rock back there, so we know where one of the survivors are. We just very unsure about where Z is at the moment. So with that, since we did camp since we did camp JoJo to death, we know that was quite a bit of time taken away from the gen that was highly progressed. And with that greed, we are going to take an M1, which is not quite the situation that we would like to be in right now. Thankfully, we did hit the collision of this wonderful map as the Huntress and that, but ultimately that is going to be the down onto Inno. And any progress that we could have potentially had is about to be null and void with this Chainrest coming through. Is he doing their best to stealth around the environment to maybe, I don't know if we monkey the gen here or if we try to play for the unhook. It's a pretty tough situation to be in. So it looks like a 4K2 is almost promised at this point. But I don't want to count anybody out yet. They could always make something happen, you know? Z being very patient, doing their best to not get spotted out. If there's any time to send it, it might be now. It might be now. Run! Oh man. Instead of going for the chase onto Inno, we are gonna go ahead and take this chase onto Z at Shack. Z doing his best to mind looking both ways before crossing the street and not to get sniped at the Shack pallet. Good chases so far. Unfortunately, like I said before, we are in what feels like almost an impossible situation. Pre-dropping this pallet gem to try to play as long as possible here and give Inno any chance of maybe literally anything happening. Oh my god. They barely caught the heel of Z's foot there. I swear. I didn't even see a pixel of him, but obviously it was there. Huntress hitboxes are amazing, right? I'm right? So good. And so with that, we are going to give Z tummy time, and we are going to go out to try to find Inno and go ahead and end this match at a 4K2. Looks like Inno was ready for the pickup very quickly, and so we have two survivors back up on their feet. We did separate nicely, so it is just a one over here. We've got to be particularly careful. We did just see our teammate get sniped at this exact same tile. Almost getting the blind there. Knowing we can't quite dip into where that pallet is, unfortunately, without taking it down. And only the pallet that was kind of our last ditch effort to try to stay up and alive. And with that, we are going to take Inno back to the campfire and leave Z out here to fend for himself against the Huntress. I do believe that, like the other Area of Crows map, that the hatch will be spawning on the inside of Shack. Yeah, it's definitely inside. Oh, and unlucky. We were not there to capitalize on everybody thinking that the hatch spawns on the outside of Shack for this particular map, or this particular realm. So now we're gonna play Door Roulette. As we did get some progress due to the bubble, I'm sure. But unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. As we take our first, or our last chase of this set. Zeke getting a really, really good reverse tunnel there, leaving the Huntress on the outside of the tile. But I guess we didn't see them cross back over. I'm not sure. But with that, we are out of hatchets, and I don't know. Hopefully Z knows that. It gives us a fun little chase here. And with that, we are going to wrap up with a strong 4K2 for Divine Dead, which means that Eco has to come back and win this with a 4K3. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we got the right filter on this time without changing to the intermission screen. GG's. Anyway, I'm Hallie Bird. We're back on the Tiebreaker Huntress set with Dino Melon now on the Hunty versus the survivors of Divine Dead, with a pretty tall task of needing to secure a 4K3. If in the event that we do tie again, to be determined of what we're going to do about that. We either replay or we do a fun little 1v1, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Don't want to count anybody out just yet. So, with this chase coming in pretty quick, yet again, the first down coming pretty fast. This time we don't have a lot of gen pressure to speak of. We do see the same build on Dino, Deadlock, Raincore, Pain Res, and Corrupt Intervention. Excuse me. And so, knowing that that down came in pretty friggin' quick, we are going to go ahead and walk on out into the map and pressure these survivors off of our gens. Knowing that we need to just get something going here, get a chase happening, get some pressure on the board, potentially get 2 hooks at one time would be the ideal situation, right? But I don't imagine that they allow Ace to hang around for too long, as we are gonna go ahead and get this down onto Nia. A little bit of a better hook placement, maybe. I didn't quite pay attention to the full gen spread, but that is another pain res applied. So keeping the generator, the pressure of the gens down to a minimum. We're gonna go ahead and reload, and I can imagine kick this one as we kind of try to find the stealthing survivor next to the gen. We do see a pre-runner in front of us. Not quite in range of getting a hatchet because of the LOS breakers. So we are going to have to walk and see if we can... We did see them through the window of that tile, but it looks like we are more interested in going back to the hook. We did see a missed skill check potentially as we try to get off the gen, I'd assume. Gonna go ahead and try to knock the BT timer off of Nia. Not quite getting that hatchet to connect, but we are gonna further pursue Nia and try to get them on close to death as possible before any real pressure happens with gens. And with that, we are gonna see the down onto Nia again, right at the base of a hook, so I know where they're going. And you gotta be feeling the pressure right now if you are the survivors of Divine Dead. You've got to be knowing that we are close to a pretty rough position. A death hook at 5 generators is pretty dominating. And now with Raincore, we do know exactly where everybody is. We know that we are safe to just kind of camp this out for the moment. In doing so, we may see another generator fall to our camping. And that puts us in a pretty tough spot also as Dino to be needing the 4K3 to not go ahead and retie this match or this set. So we do find the most progressed gen here. But let me solo chase is close contender with gen pressure here, but we do not want to give this unhook for free. Dino deciding that we are just going to go ahead and commit to maybe getting a hatchet connection here, as we do see the death of Nia come through. And any hopes to maybe rotate for Felix's gen is going to be negated here in just a second with Deadlock. And so that means that we will get to apply... Oh, I see that we decided to wait for the hook to come through before we pop the gen. That way that we could pop it and secure the most progression versus this other one, if that makes any sense at all. It makes sense in how I'm saying, like in my brain, but I don't know that I'm speaking it correctly, but I think you guys catch the drift. And with that, we are very close to meeting our tie condition for the survivors of Divine Dead. And what seemed to be very promising for Dino just a few moments ago is now kind of it seems like the ties are kind of tilting the other way. As we try to find, we do see the Scratchies finally. We were trying to find the stealth survivor that was just working the shin. And with that unhook, we do see yet again Felix with second wind. So they do not need reset. They can just be reset solo by themselves without the help of anybody. So that means that they can just hop right back on their gin. Ace reading that Dino was going to pull up at that pallet instead, and he's just going to go ahead and walk through it. Oh man. And with that patience from Dino, we are going to get the pallet dropped and the down secured onto Ace. It looks like that is the survivor that we need to get another pain res going for us. We just saw crossing in front of us. Quick reload and hatch, man. We gotta wrap this up. I'm just kidding. The quick reload in Shack means that we can freely go and push these gens with full arsenal of hatchets. Sprint burst, gonna be baiting the hatchet toss at the corner there. I'm doing a really good job so far of playing this tile and not giving anything away for free. And of course, naturally, as I say that, we are gonna get the medium volts, resulting in an injury onto Felix. And with that, we do have a winner of this match with that generator popping here. So the match win is going to go to Divine Dead, which means that Ego unfortunately has lost their place in the losers bracket, and it'll be Divine Dead facing off against Tamashi. Dino's still playing for the best result he possibly can get here. Finding V kind of lurking in the chase with the flashbang ready. We are going to get the hatchet connect there. Let's see if we can line up this shot. And oh man, just too late for those hatchets, unfortunately. As we see both generators becoming finished here. Dino needing a quick reload. One of those moments that if we just kept the hatchet up, I do that all the time in pubs whenever I play Huntress because I'm terrible at killer. So as soon as I put the hatchet down, the survivor becomes available to get hit, and it sucks, but I don't know. Hats off to anybody that plays killer in comp because this stuff is not easy. Trying to go for a cheeky little hit. And looks like Dino does know where the hatch spawns with this map, and went ahead and made it so where V would not be able to take that. And a nice little dodge at the exit gate means that all three survivors are going to be getting out. So what does that mean for our standings? Like I've mentioned before, the winner of this goes on to face Tamachi. As far as matches in the league, we still have yet today, I think, one more match. I'm pulling it up right now. Yes, we will have Unholy versus Aphelion with the Dark Lord Hillbilly and Lich at 4 p.m. EST. So don't go too far. EC will be back shortly with another match. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching.